What's going on, folks? Here at Tool Dyno Works, and today we're going to cover the free airbox mod that you can do to these 4th generations, the 2024 plus Yamaha CP3s, like we have right behind me here on our 24 MT09. This is actually a really popular modification on the prior generation Yamaha CP3s, so the 21 to 23 bikes, but the airbox is very different on those bikes than it is on the newest generation, so the performance gains are also different. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this modification, effectively all you're doing is removing the internal runners. I don't really want to call them snorkels, because they're not snorkels, but just runners that come off of the very top of the underside of the airbox lid and stick down toward the throttle bodies. And the modification itself isn't actually rocket science. You have these two giant snorkels on the inside of these airboxes here, and effectively what you're doing is cutting these snorkels all the way down to the airbox lid, so what you're left with is just the two inlets on the top side of the airbox. And once you're done, you got something that looks like this. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it gets the job done and gets the snorkels out of the way. So the big question that everybody's asked is, what does it actually do for performance? Well, we'll show you. But just so we're making an apples-to-apples comparison, we went ahead and put the SD Project exhaust back on our MT09, and this is how the bike performs with the airbox unmodified and just a basic drop-in filter installed with our custom ECU mapping. As we've shown before, it makes about 117.9, just under 118 horsepower, and about 67 pound-feet of torque to the tire on pump gas once it's properly tuned and dialed in. But with the airbox modification done and the ECU mapping adjusted for the additional airflow through the engine, there is some improvements in some portions of the RPM range. Most notably, if we zoom in here, you can see that right off the bottom, right between about 4,000 and 5,000 RPMs, you are picking up about 2 pound-feet of torque and about 2 horsepower right there where you're riding the bike and just kind of cruising around town. And way out of the very top end of the RPM range, right around 9,600 RPM, so between 9,000 and 10,000 RPMs, you pick up about 1.5 horsepower. Now, I actually found that pretty interesting because on the prior generation airbox, so again, the 21 to 23 bikes, you gained nothing doing this modification until the very top end of the RPM range, where you picked up like the same 1 to 1.5 horsepower. But this is a different and smaller airbox with a different airbox lid than the prior generation, so you do actually see some benefit right off the bottom there between 4,000 and 5,000 RPMs by doing this modification with proper ECU mapping to match. Now, a lot of people commented on our recent video where we discussed the huge benefits from the DNA Stage 2 intake and said that intake is too expensive and they want to do the airbox modification instead, which I don't really actually understand. I was actually surprised that more than one person said that. The DNA Stage 2 kit is like $400 if I remember correctly. And again, I'm unbiased here. I don't sell them. They're like $400, I think. And the improvements through the mid-range are massively stronger than just the airbox mod that we've done here. In fact, I'll overlay all of it for you right now. So the green line there that we've added, run 14, is how the bike performed with our Stage 2 airbox in place, again from DNA, the SD Project exhaust, and the custom tuning. You can see that the mid-range gains are enormous. And just so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about there, because there's a little bit going on the screen, I've highlighted the area right at 6,400 RPMs, so between 6,000 and 7,000, where you can see that you were picking up 5 horsepower and 4 to 5 foot-pounds of torque. The gains are just enormous from the DNA Stage 2 intake, and while it is marginally better with the free airbox mod, it just simply is not comparable. Now, the reason I honestly took the time to do this modification, put the stock airbox lid and then modify it back onto the bike, build the file for it, and then retest it and make this video, is because you folks asked me to. I wanted to show that, yeah, sure, you can do the free modification and it will get you something, but my personal opinion, just stick with the DNA Stage 2 kit. That's what we'll be keeping on our bike whenever I'm riding it around town here or at the racetrack, because it is massively better right where you're normally riding the bike, and especially when you're on the track, the torque difference coming out of the corners is huge. But more importantly to me than my actual personal opinion about what's better for the bike is that we now have custom ECU mapping built for this setup for you guys out there that decide to do this modification. As I've said time and time again, we are committed here at Tool Dyno Works to offering you the highest quality intake and exhaust specific custom ECU mapping you can find for these bikes, period, full stop, end of story. So just like we did with the DNA Stage 2 kit, we'll now go through the process of reinstalling all of our other exhaust systems, both on our bike, performing this modification on the customer bikes that we have here, and rebuilding all these files. So we will have custom ECU mapping for just about every exhaust system you can imagine, the free airbox modification, and the DNA Stage 2 intake kit. All of that means that we'll have about 40 different intake and exhaust specific custom fuel maps to choose from for you guys, so no matter what modification you make to the bike, we have got you covered right here at Tool Dyno Works. Again, with the highest quality custom ECU mapping, you simply will not find better stuff out there for this platform anywhere else, and that is a guarantee. And as always, if you have any questions whatsoever about getting your ECU flashed or modification questions on the new 4th generation MT09s, do not hesitate to email us at support@tooldynoworks.com. I personally respond to all tech support questions every single day, and we are always happy to help get your bike properly tuned and dialed in.